Welcome to another episode of the magazine. Today we're going to find out about the Fairhaven Cultural Council, and we have Beth Ann Gallagher. Welcome, Beth.
Thank you, Charlie, for having me here today. I'm very excited to talk about the council.
Well, thank you. Thanks for coming in. So what is the Fairhaven Cultural Council?
Well, we're trying not to be the best kept secret in the town. we exist for a really good purpose. We exist to fund cultural activities in the town that will enrich the lives of Fairhaven citizens. Mm-hmm. And by the state law, we're mandated to focus on projects in the arts, humanities, and interpretive sciences.
Okay.
And we're able to do what we do because we're part of the local cultural council program.
Now, what's the local cultural council program?
It is the largest grassroots funding network in the nation, and it's very unique to Massachusetts. Mm-hmm. It was incorporated in Massachusetts general law in 1982.
Okay. Do other communities have cultural councils?
They do. All 351 towns and cities of Massachusetts have a cultural council representing them.
That's great. And so you mentioned about projects. What are some of these projects that maybe people have seen around the community or participate in?
I know projects sounds kind of vague, but they can take so many different forms. Mm-hmm. Music events are really popular projects that we invest in. Music in Benoit Square,
okay.
Concerts under the stars, the old time fiddle session at the Millicent Library. That's some of it. We do a lot for kids too. Okay. Sometimes we fund field trips. Eyes on Owls event and the Level Up Magic Show, we did that as well. We gave a grant to the Shepherd Center that has to do with them functioning. Mm-hmm. And it's just, we have kind of helped out most organizations in the town at one point or another with our grants.
That's good to know that you actually help out with field trips.
Yeah.
I bet a lot of teachers will be watching and get in touch with you for sure.
Yes, the applications will soar.
So where does the Fairhaven Cultural Council get their money for grants? You talked about a lot of great projects that we want to continue, but how does the money come about?
That's a great question. The majority of our money comes from the Mass Cultural Council. That's the state entity that oversees the local cultural council program. They get their money from the Massachusetts legislature and from the National Endowment for the Arts. And then they use a formula to equitably distribute it to all the towns and cities in Massachusetts to spend on these special events.
Wow, that's great. And how do these grants get awarded?
Oh, we do take applications for them once a year.
Okay.
And it happens every fall, every September. The Massachusetts Cultural Council has an online portal for every local community council. So we're going to share that link when it goes live. That's going to be on September 2nd this year. So anybody who has a great idea for a cultural event in Fairhaven can go online to that form and fill it out and then submit it to us.
So is there a deadline that they have to get it into before?
Yes, they have a month and a half. Okay. So it closes on October 16th at 11:59 p.m. And you don't know how many applications we get right before that closing hour.
Right before there.
Yeah.
That's good. So you mentioned a lot of projects. It's called the Fairhaven Cultural Council.
Yeah.
So who can apply?
Oh, any resident of Fairhaven can apply to be on it. Usually the suggestion is that you have a passion for arts or culture, sciences, education, and we have a lot of members that are interested in all or some of those areas. They have to apply through the Town of Fairhaven website on the volunteer application form, and that goes to you. It goes towards the select board, and then the select board interviews the candidate and mostly appoints. I don't know if I've ever heard of somebody not being appointed. Yeah.
Right. So how many people do you have on the council?
Currently we have 7, and we could allow 2 more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. So the grants you had mentioned, a big part of the Fairhaven Cultural Council. How do you get the money for the grants?
Oh, yes. So for the individuals we give the grants to? Or
Yes.
Sure. So we do direct grants. Once they're approved, and the Massachusetts Cultural Council cycles through all the approvals, they will release the funds to the Fairhaven Cultural Council.
Okay.
And the town halls handles that for us, the monies. We've got contracts and paperwork that go back and forth between the council and the grantees and the treasurer of the town.
Okay. And what about restrictions? Are there any restrictions on the grants?
Definitely. Applicants have to reside in Massachusetts, or if they're an organization, they have to be located in Massachusetts.
Okay.
The projects must have a demonstrated public benefit. We can't give an artist a grant just to practice their art.
Okay.
And we can't give a scientist a grant just to perform research. There must be something that the public can attend, consume, or access in some way.
Okay.
The other restriction is we can't fund inherently religious events.
Okay.
So a religious group could apply for something that's non-denominational, say educational. For example, St. Joseph's School sometimes applies for field trips for their students. The other thing is no grant monies can be spent on alcohol.
Okay. All right. What other tips do you have for someone applying? So they can't apply until September 2nd.
Yes.
That's when it goes live, which is great because that's just the beginning of the school year as well. So if teachers wanted to apply for a field trip in the beginning of the year, that's my first question. That's the first question. Any tips? And then I have another one.
Well, the first thing I suggest is reading our priorities and guidelines. They state explicitly what we're looking for in an application and what we think a strong application is. Sometimes area groups will kind of copy and paste applications. Not the in-town groups of Fairhaven, but we do get applications from the region as well. And we want to know that there's a demonstrated benefit for Fairhaven's residents, and we also have other things that we ask for. For example, if somebody's proposing that they partner with an in-town organization or venue, we want a letter of support. We want to know that organization or venue wants to work with you. If you apply and it turns out they don't want to work with you, then the project or event can't happen.
Sure.
We want to invest these monies from the town and state in things that are sure to happen if we pick them.
Okay. And if someone does apply, how do they know if they've been granted the grant?
They have to wait for a little bit.
Okay.
So they apply in September, and then we have a meeting, sometimes December, sometimes November, where we go through everything. And the first thing that does go out are the declinations. So if somebody doesn't get a grant, they're going to find out soon after our voting meeting. If somebody does get a grant, they're not going to find out to the middle of January. So no early news from us is good news.
Okay. All right. That's good. So that's good. So it's a process.
Yes.
So if they were like scheduling something, an event, it would more than likely be after January.
Well, the Mass Cultural Council allows us to do a broader window. So they can actually apply. So if, say, there's a school field trip or a music event that happens in September or October, they can still apply for a grant.
Oh.
So they can apply before they're awarded it. We just ask them to notify the public that they're in the process of applying for a grant that they may get. If they do have their event after the grant award, we ask them to let the public know, oh, this was funded by a grant.
Okay. And what do they have to give proof that they actually spent the money for the project itself?
Not receipts, but there is a final report they submit. It includes things like attendance, date it happened. They can do projected dates, and so the final report, they tell us the exact date it happened and where.
Okay. Yeah. And I bet you have a long list of people that have applied. But I'm glad you're on the show because a lot of people don't know about this and don't know that they can have this opportunity.
Yes. It's a great opportunity because it creates more that can happen in the town without the cost of it being dependent on the public or an organization.
So that's great. What made you get interested in coming on the Fairhaven Cultural Council?
Well, for one thing, I've always been interested in arts and culture. When I was in high school, I was probably a member of like 2/3 of the clubs at high school. I actually wasn't allowed to join yearbook because the teacher said I was in too many clubs. But also, I'm a returnee. I had a child during the pandemic, and I came back to Fairhaven. I wanted my child to know his family here. And so it gives me a way to reintegrate into my community while contributing to it. And it feels really fulfilling to be able to do that. And I've made friendships, renewed friendships through it. And I think other people, if they wanted to participate, they would find it fulfilling for their own personal reasons too.
Well, that's great, and we're glad you're back as
Thank
well. And congratulations on your son.
Thank you so much.
And I do know your parents personally, so I know that they are absolutely beyond ecstatic at having a grandson.
Yes.
So if you're not from Fairhaven and you want to get involved in this, what is the process of getting involved in a cultural council?
Oh, so if somebody's not from Fairhaven, they could do a project inside of Fairhaven.
Okay.
They can't join the council. The council is restricted to Fairhaven residents only.
Okay.
But they can do a project. So we actually get project proposals from people from all over the state, not just Fairhaven residents or from the greater Fairhaven area.
What would you say, and I'm putting you on the spot on this one, but is the most creative project? I mean, they're all great projects, but what's been a really creative one? So maybe give people ideas on what they can create.
Oh, let me think about that. Well, we tend to like things that have a broad appeal for a group. I know it. My favorite one that I wish I could have attended, it was at the Council on Aging,
Okay.
and it was an acting workshop,
Oh, wow.
a Golden Girls acting workshop. We were so excited on the council to fund that one because we have Golden Girls nostalgia, and it seemed like it was something that would have been fun for the participants too.
Oh, wow. And that was right here in Fairhaven they did that?
Right here at the Senior Center.
Oh, great. What are some of the projects from this past year that have now come to be? And you've gotten the final reports on them.
Oh, yes. Well, sometimes the kids' events can often happen fast. We had one Caribbean where she did a doodle sessions with the students and or young people who would go to the library. And part of it was to do art, but also part of it was to emotionally express themselves so that they could deal with the emotions that they were feeling as teenagers. And I thought that was a really great idea.
That is a great idea. Yeah. So you've given us tips.
Yeah.
You've given us ways to apply, where the money goes,
Yes.
where the money comes from.
Yep.
And so now the final thoughts here on the Fairhaven Cultural Council.
Well, we're here. We hope more people know that we're here. Right now we're closing out our survey to the public, so by the time people see it, it'll probably be too late for them to take it. But one thing I'd like to leave them with is the easiest way to participate in something that will help the council is to take our annual survey.
Okay.
We want to hear from as many diverse viewpoints as possible about what your interests and needs are, what events you would like to see happen in town, how you hear about them, because that will help us help the people with projects reach you. If there are any barriers to people attending that we can help with. For example, we were at the North Fairhaven Open Air Market promoting the survey this weekend, and one person said, I need events in the morning. And so that is feedback that we didn't get last year that we can pass on to our grantees about what people are looking for.
That's great. So to get in touch with the Fairhaven Cultural Council, we go to the website?
You go to the website. We have an official Town of Fairhaven page.
Okay.
We're also on Instagram and Facebook as well.
Perfect. Well, Beth Ann, I can't thank you enough for all you do for our community, for the Fairhaven Cultural Council, for the many devoted years you did in high school with all the clubs that you've been in, and just for being a great part of our community. We thank you, Beth Ann, and best of luck this year with the Fairhaven Cultural Council, which is not a secret anymore.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Welcome back to the magazine. Now we're here with Joe Thomas, who is the publisher and co-owner of the Spinner Publications. And so we're going to find out something about the Spinner Publications here today. And also, we're going to find out about Joe. So Joe, tell us something about yourself before the Spinner came into being.
Well, we started this back in, I think, 1981.
Okay.
Was our first publication. So that year, we formed the idea with myself and Donna Hughes, a sociology professor at UMass Dartmouth. And I was a freelance photographer. Stringer was a couple of newspapers and doing documentary work, photography. And Donna was a social scientist doing oral history and documentary stories of neighborhoods and such.
Okay.
we were both doing pretty much the same thing, except I was doing it more visually and she was doing it academically. So we got together and both decided that we wanted to really combine it into a format that we could share and distribute and put into the public sector in a way that was nice, keepsake, but important and entertaining. And the first few books were very heavy in photography and oral history. And that was our original mainstay. And from there, we branched out into more historical narratives and projects and documentary projects that were broader and encompassed subjects from all the surrounding towns in Rhode Island, as well as in this area, southeastern Massachusetts. So that's what got me going, and that was my general interest, having graduated in both sociology and photography. And Donna was a big part of those early days. And at some point during that time, in the 80s, or maybe the 90s by that time, Jay, who's with me today, joined. He's actually a relative of mine. He's my nephew. Okay. And he came aboard pretty much when he was at Vogue as helping out, helping with a lot of the tasks. And now he's pretty much running the place. So he started in some of the same ways I did, rather, rough and working your way through and trying to build the organization. He's been there with me all along the way. We've published about 50 books. Oh, wow. Roughly 50 books. And this last book with Al Solnia that we just did, the history of the French in New Bedford. Jay worked exclusively with Al to design it and to illustrate it and to help with the editing and all the mechanical work that has to be done to get a book out, the cover design. So he's been doing that all along the way. He's really taken over the design element and the typographic elements, as well as some of the editorial work. And we publish calendars as well. So we do half a dozen calendars every year, and that seems to be growing. And he's a big part of that as well. So
yes, we notice the calendars around town.
Yeah, the calendars have been very popular. We started doing that in I think it was 87 maybe, or around that time, as a sort of an idea to just raise funds.
Sure.
And now it's become a mainstay for us, a big part of what we do. And it's a nice way to get history out without doing huge research projects. We can do things that are light and brief, condensed, and get them out there in 12 pictures, 13 pictures.
Sure.
So that's been a lot of fun. And we've done, like I say, the 50 books, the Spinner volumes, that's how we began. We did 5 of them. And then we started just focusing on singular topics. And originally, we sort of had an ensemble, a group of people who did all the work. And many of them were from the university and from Swain School at the time. But now we really have grown to try to include freelance writers, local historians. We have a lot of scholars and professors and people from outside the area. The one thing we've maintained is the topics typically are locally centered. In other words, either the writer or the subject has to do with the history and culture of southeastern Massachusetts or southeastern New England.
Sure. So how did you get the name The Spinner?
Well, we sat in a classroom one day, late afternoon, and we were doing brainstorming, trying to come up with a name. We wanted something that had some geographic significance and cultural significance. Okay. And we thought of a lot of different things, but nothing really grabbed us that was different, that hadn't been used already. And so someone came up with the word spinner, and it seemed to have cultural significance in that a spinner was a factory worker, a textile worker, and we were doing a lot with the history of textiles.
Okay.
But it also had a nautical sense, like in a sail, a spinner. But it was also a spinner of tales, a spinner of yarns. The oral history aspect could be brought in there of what is, a spinner of stories. And after all, we wanted to really be a product that told stories. It was all about storytelling.
Okay.
So it worked. And we used it, and we put the subtitle People and Culture in Southeastern Massachusetts, which I always thought was just too big and clunky.
Mm-hmm.
And so we shortened it just to Spinner 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 5. But technically the title of the book was Spinner, People and Culture in Southeastern Massachusetts.
Okay.
So that's a kind of a long story, and that's a long title, and that's how it started out. But we really couldn't come up with a geographic and cultural word that was different, that hadn't been used. So that's how Spinner came.
Well, that's a great history of it. That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
So you said about 50 books you've published so far?
Yeah, I think lost count a little bit, but it's in between 40 and 50.
Okay. And where did those ideas come from?
Well, at first we assigned them. They were ideas that came right out of our office. We had, a lot of different people working here, editors and writers. But then people started coming to us, submitting their ideas, who wrote, some of it nonfiction and some of it fiction, stories, memoirs, a novel, a lot of poetry, and people kept coming to us with their ideas. We were trying to be an open platform for writers and photographers. And so that's how a lot of the material came. And as a result, it's not, a lot of the work is not real popular. You wouldn't think of the topics as super popular, though there were some that were extremely popular. We did a book on Lincoln Park, the history of Lincoln Park.
Yeah.
And that was a phenomenal hit for us. We sold thousands of books there. We did a couple of cookbooks, which were very successful, and a history of the cranberry industry,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
which did well, and then histories of both Fairhaven and New Bedford. We did a nice piece on Manjiro, the Japanese boy who discovered America,
Yes,
so to speak.
Absolutely.
That was a great project and a wonderful project to do because of what it involved, so many people and translators and historians. So we've done a lot of different things.
Quite a bit in the archives.
Well, the archive, if you're speaking of the photographs, along the way we've been collecting images.
Okay.
And we came across a lot of collections, old collections, and some by the photographers themselves.
Okay.
Many of whom have passed away since. But beautiful collections of negatives, many of them negatives. And I think we've amassed at least close to a couple million images, and many of them, first generation negatives or prints. If you talk about digital, of course, you can get to a couple million in no time, the way people are photographing with their phones.
Sure.
But these are just historic photos. If we just look at that, we've got well over 1.5 million, I would think, by this time. For example, the Milton Sylvia collection. Milton Sylvia, a photographer with the Standard Times for decades, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, into the 90s, I believe. He donated his entire archive or collection to Spinner before he passed away. And we've been able to get most of that up on the Digital Commonwealth site sponsored by the Boston Public Library. And these are things we're working on, trying to make them accessible, make the collections accessible and at least viewable
Sure.
for people.
I've noticed around your office that the amount of awards that Spinner has received,
Yeah.
which really shows your organization's excellence. So Tell us about the awards.
Well, probably the most prestigious, I think, is the Commonwealth Award. I guess it's
Commonwealth, yeah.
yeah, and it's in the humanities, and it's. I was selected the first round of it, along with Yo-Yo Ma was there, and a couple of other really, stellar individuals.
A good recognition of definitely the excellence for your organization.
Yeah, and that was nice because they recognized us for our work at Spinner and for doing exactly what we do, that is recording this cultural history and making it accessible to people. And similarly, we've been recognized by the city of New Bedford, the Senate, the House, the House, Senate, and House of Representatives for the exhibitions we've done on African American history,
Excellent.
on labor history in the Bedford area, and the Fonterra Award from UMass. That was nice. And most of it all just comes right back to just recognition of our documentation of local history, regional history. There's a lot of demand for that now, a lot of recognition going now for that, more so today than any time in the past 20 years. We've been doing this for 45 years, so we've had a lot
Excellent.
of time to do it. But, when we started in the early 80s, it wasn't as popular as it is now. But I think more and more people are recognizing community history and cultural history, and even putting it in the pantheon of tourism, and saying that this is cities and towns can really capitalize on selling history and for visitors and tourists. And New Bedford's finally caught into that. It took quite a while. And Fall River is still sort of catching up, I think. And we really had felt all along that, things like our textile history, our ethnic history, and the fishing stories of the fishing industry, these were products and ideas and stories that people would be interested in, even if they weren't from around here.
Right.
And I think we've proven that to some degree. We'd like to continue and do more, get more excitement on it, but.
Well, the future is bright, Joe, especially with Jay on board as well. And we can't thank you enough for all the historical parts that you brought.
Thank you.
And many more ideas. Maybe someone watching has a nice idea they want to bring to the Spinner. So let's hope that we continue to grow for the future and keep the historical part active. And once again, Joe, thank you for your great work and thank you for your investment in our community.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.